All right, my man. So what we're going to do today is dive into those sprint mechanics, those acceleration mechanics, get you, running faster 60s, dropping that 60 time, and stealing more bases, right? Being more effective on the base path. So first thing we're going to dive into is your start position. Your start position looks great. You are balanced. You're low. You're strong. You have that slight bend in the hips. The only thing I can critique are your feet, right? So what I like to do with my feet, my back foot, I like to rotate slightly, get up on my toe a little bit, so I'm rotating a little bit with that back foot, allowing me to push off the ground in the direction that I'm trying to go. And the same thing goes with the front foot. So the front foot, I like to open up slightly. It allows me to clear my hips a little bit more. As you can see, your hips are square with the camera, right? My hips are, it's tough to see, but my hips are slightly open this way as opposed to being straight up and down like that, right? So that comes from opening up that front foot a little bit. It allows you to, like I said, clear your hips a little bit, and it's one less thing we have to do once we start moving, right? So the next thing that we're going to jump into is that drop step, right? So the one thing about your drop step, if we look at it in comparison to the video that I have below, is that you're trying to gain ground with that drop step, right? So see how my front foot goes straight up and down and almost a little bit backwards. It appears to go backwards, where you're trying to gain ground and move that front foot forward, right? And really the reason why we use a drop step is so that we can create the proper shin angle, right? So let's play out this drop step, and right when our drop step touches the ground, right there, see how I'm up on my toe, and I've created this shin angle that allows me to propel myself forward as opposed to being more straight up and down, right? So when I'm looking at a drop step in an analysis of sprint mechanics, the main thing that I'm looking for is that shin angle. The second thing I'm looking for is where that that foot to ground contact point is where the foot to ground contact point is in comparison to our center of gravity, right? Center of mass. So if we play this out a little bit further, when we start to push ourselves forward, that back foot comes off the ground, right? We're pushing ourselves forward. Yep, we're going to look right here. My center of mass is up here, right? Your center of mass is right here. And basically what we're looking for is to have that foot to ground contact point be behind our center of mass, right? Right here, it's within your center of mass, if not in front of your center of mass. And what we're trying to do with that is push ourselves forward. If our foot to ground contact point is behind our center of mass, then we're able to push ourselves forward as opposed to pulling ourselves forward, right? If we pull ourselves forward, then we're significantly less explosive. We're on the ground for longer periods of time, and we put unnecessary stress on our hamstrings, making ourselves more prone to injury, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to continue this forward. I'm going to kind of get rid of mine because I go off the screen a little bit. But what we're going to do is we're going to get into extension with your stride here, and I think we can look at mine as well. Yeah, I kind of start to go off the screen, but that's okay. And what we're looking for in this extension phase is that we're looking for this straight line from our shoulders through our hips into our ankle, right? So if we look at yours, we have that straight line from hips to ankle, but we have this rounding in the back, right? And that rounding in the back is taking away from our extension forward. We're trying to get extension in the hips, but if we don't get extension with our back and with our chest and with our core, then we're taking away from the extension that we're working so hard to get with our hips, right? So try and flatten that back out so that we have one straight line propelling ourselves in this direction, and that'll help out a lot. You'll see much more explosiveness out of that start position, right? The last thing I can critique, and I think this is where my video is no longer helpful, is this second step, right? So when you hit the ground on this second step right here, what we see is that shin angle kind of goes away. That shin angle is very straight up and down. which a lot of times means that we're standing up too fast, right? We're standing up too tall. Our posture is too tall, right? And during acceleration, we want to stay as low as we can for as long as we can, right? As long as we're accelerating, we have to have that tilt in our hips and create a shin angle that's propelling ourselves forward, right? So again, your center of mass is back here, and your shin and your foot is in front of that center of mass. So as long as we're accelerating, we want our center of mass to be in front of our foot and where our foot touches the ground, right? So that's something that is easily fixed just by trying to focus on staying low through your acceleration. And then once we get through acceleration and we start to, move into that top speed and maintaining top speed, that's when we're able to create the shin angle that's more, perpendicular and up and down, kind of like we're seeing here. So let's jump into your top speed mechanics, and then we'll go from there.